My dear friend, microphone motivate yourself to change your behavior. There will come a time in your life when your own reflection will stop you cold. A moment when the mirror doesn't lie and the silence around you grows louder than any applause or any blame. In that moment, ask yourself not what have others done, but what have you done and what you are still doing. Because change does not knock. It waits quietly until you're brave enough to open the door. You cannot pour clean water into a dirty vessel and expect it to stay pure. And you cannot dress pain in pretty clothes and call it peace. If you want to change your behavior, first change your honesty. You must be bold enough to admit your flaws, brave enough to unlearn your excuses, and wise enough to understand that every habit is a choice repeated, not a curse placed upon you. Let me tell you something real. Your past is not your prison. Maybe you've made mistakes. Who hasn't? Maybe you've repeated the same cycle so many times it became your rhythm, your identity, your comfort. But here's the truth. Just because you've walked a path 1,000 times does not mean you must walk it again. The human spirit was not born to stay still. You were born to rise, not settle. If you are waiting for the perfect day to change, let me save you the wait. It will not come. The perfect day is a myth. The right time is now. Not when you feel ready. Not when it's easy. Now when it's hard. When it's raw. When it's real. That's when change begins to bloom. You want motivation? Let it come from the life you could have if you stop betraying your own potential. Let it come from the quiet ache in your soul that says, I was made for more. Because you were, and you still are. But don't confuse inspiration with action. Change is not magic, it's muscle. And muscles grow by being torn and rebuilt. That's what behavior change is. It's tearing down lies you've believed about yourself and building new truths in their place. It hurts, it humbles, it heals. Discipline, child, is not punishment. It is protection. It is the highest form of self-respect. It's saying, I love myself enough not to be ruled by my urges, my past, or my fears. Discipline is the song your future self will thank you for singing today. Be mindful of the company you keep. Don't keep people around just because they clap for your comfort. Surround yourself with those who challenge your thinking. Call out your cycles and hold your soul like it matters. Growth rarely comes from a soft pillow. It often comes from the hard truth. And yes, it will be lonely at times. Yes, it will feel like loss. But what you are losing is the weight of who you no longer want to be. And what you are gaining is freedom. The freedom to walk in peace. To love without fear, to wake up proud of the choices you made yesterday. That kind of freedom is worth every tear, every tremble, every trial. So stop waiting, stop doubting, stop making a home out of habits that are hurting you. The world needs the version of you that isn't afraid to evolve. Don't just exist, transform. Don't just wish, work. Don't just change, become. Because when you finally do, the world won't just see your new behavior. It will feel your light. Change begins with honest self-reflection. Not the kind of reflection you do when you're trying to impress someone. Not the kind where you only look at the good parts of yourself, dusting off the mirror just enough to see the version of you that feels comfortable. No, true change only grows from the soil of truth. And truth is often buried deep beneath the stories we tell ourselves. It's not easy to look in the mirror and say, I was wrong. It's not pleasant to say, I've been the problem. But that's where it starts. That's the door that opens the path to becoming someone new. You cannot fix what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot grow from soil you won't till. Too many people walk around wearing masks they've forgotten are even there. They've convinced themselves they're fine, that they've moved on, that they're doing their best, when deep down they know they're hiding. They're hiding from their habits, from their past, from the little voice that keeps whispering you need to change. But here's the thing. That voice is not your enemy. That voice is your soul knocking on the door of your own heart, asking you to wake up. When you sit in silence and begin to ask yourself the real questions, why did I react that way? Why do I keep making the same mistakes? What am I avoiding? You begin to strip away the layers. You begin to get to the root of things, and it's messy there. It's not pretty. You might find anger that you never dealt with. You might find jealousy you thought you buried. You might discover fears you've built entire routines around. But don't run. Don't turn away. Lean in. Because whatever you find there, it's yours. It belongs to you. And if it belongs to you, that means you have the power to change it. Real self-reflection requires humility. It demands that you stop pointing fingers even when you have every right to. It demands that you stop blaming circumstances, stop blaming people, stop blaming timing, because none of those things can change your behavior. Only you can. It's not about shaming yourself. It's about claiming responsibility. There's a difference. Responsibility doesn't say, I am bad. It says, I can do better. And that's a powerful thing to realize. You start to see the patterns in your life, the choices you keep repeating, the cycles that trap you. And suddenly it becomes clear. Your behavior didn't just happen to you. You shaped it. You allowed it. You made space for it. You allowed it. And that's good news, because if you created the pattern, then you can uncreate it too. You can decide that today is the last day you'll let that part of you lead the way. You can choose to put that behavior down, not with shame, but with grace, with love, with honesty. When you're honest with yourself, you begin to understand your own power. You see how much time you've wasted trying to control things outside of you, when the real battlefield was always within. You see that the people who hurt you cannot fix you. The opportunities you missed cannot define you. The person you've been doesn't have to be the person you stay. And that realization, raw and true and often painful, is also the most freeing thing you'll ever feel. Change doesn't start when everything is perfect. It doesn't start when you've got it all figured out. It starts the moment you sit with yourself and say, I'm ready to be real. That's the day you begin. That's the moment you start cutting ties with your old patterns. That's when you begin to show up differently for yourself, for others, for life. So be brave enough to sit in that silence. Be bold enough to stare at your reflection without flinching. And be kind enough to say, I see the cracks, but I still choose to build from here, because you can't change what you refuse to see. But once you do see it, once you truly look inside and stop running from your own truth, nothing can stop the transformation that follows. Your future begins in the mirror, not with judgment, not with fear, but with truth. And truth, no matter how uncomfortable, will always be the first step toward freedom. Your past is a lesson, not a life sentence. It is not a chain meant to hold you in place, nor a punishment you must serve day after day. It is a teacher. A sometimes cruel, often silent, always honest teacher. It holds a mirror to your former self, not to shame you, but to remind you how far you've come and how much further you can go. Your past is not your home. It is a classroom. And when the lesson has been learned, you are meant to graduate, not repeat the same year again and again. So many people walk around carrying the weight of who they used to be, dragging their mistakes behind them like a bag full of stones. They believe that because they made bad choices, they must be bad people. Because they failed once, or even many times, they are somehow unworthy of success. Because they hurt others, they can never be redeemed. That is the cruel lie the past tries to tell you when you're still living inside it. But let me be clear, what you did is not who you are. What happened to you is not all that you are. And what you've been through is only part of the story, not the ending. The past will try to convince you that nothing can change, that who you've been is who you'll always be. But that's not truth. That's fear dressed up in old memories. Your past wants you to believe that healing is for other people, that growth is beyond your reach, that forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness, is something you'll never earn. But hear this, if you're still breathing, you're still becoming. And there is no mistake, no failure, no wound deep enough to keep you from rewriting your future. It's easy to get stuck in cycles, to repeat patterns just because they're familiar. But comfort is not always a sign of peace. Sometimes it's just a sign of habit. If you've lived in regret long enough, it starts to feel like home. But regret was never meant to be a residence. It's a road sign. It tells you where you took the wrong turn, not where you have to stay. Yes, maybe you hurt someone. Maybe you disappointed yourself. Maybe you disappointed yourself. Maybe you broke promises, lost years, wasted opportunities. Own that. Don't run from it. Don't sugarcoat it. But also, don't let it define you. You can look your past in the eye and still choose to walk forward. You can say, I was broken, but I am not broken now. You can say, I didn't know better then, but I've learned better now. The lesson is what matters, the growth, the awareness, the change. If the past could talk, it would say, I'm not here to haunt you, I'm here to teach you, but you must listen. You must sit with the uncomfortable truths. You must be willing to feel what you once numbed, because healing doesn't come from forgetting, it comes from understanding. When you look back with clarity, not with shame, you begin to see what you were missing. You see the patterns, the pain, the lies you believe. And when you see it all clearly, you gain power, the power to choose differently. No one gets through life without mistakes. No one walks through this world without falling. What separates the transformed from the trapped is the willingness to learn. If you refuse to learn from your past, you will repeat it. But if you choose to face it, learn from it, and grow through it, you are no longer a prisoner of it. You are a student. And students graduate. They move forward. They evolve. You have the right to outgrow your history. You have the right to change your name in your own mouth. To speak of yourself not as damaged, but as developing. To tell your story not as a tragedy, but as a turning point. You are not the same person you were back then. And you don't owe anyone, including yourself, the punishment of never becoming better just because you were once worse. So stand up. Shake off the weight of your former self. Thank your past for the lessons, then close the door gently behind you. You are not sentenced to stay in the place that broke you. You are invited to rise again and again, every single day. Let your past be a chapter, not the whole book. Let it be a teacher, not a jailer. Let it be the soil where your roots were planted, not the chains that hold you down. Because your future is still wide open, and you get to walk into it, not as a prisoner of your past, but as the author of what comes next. Courage is the seed of every change. Nothing new begins without it. Nothing transforms, grows, or evolves without first being touched by its hand. People often wait for clarity before they move. Wait for signs, wait for certainty, wait for motivation. But the truth is, clarity comes after courage. Understanding blooms after you've taken the step, not before. Change doesn't come when the path is easy. It comes when you're willing to walk the path, even when it's uncertain, uneven, and terrifying. It comes when you're willing to walk it shaking, but still walking. You can plan for years. You can pray, journal, talk to friends, and make endless promises to yourself. But until you act, until you move, that change remains a dream, not a reality. And what fuels that movement? Courage, not confidence, not comfort. Courage. Confidence is a result. Comfort is a reward. But courage? Courage is the seed. It's the beginning of all things powerful. It is what says, I don't know what's ahead, but I trust myself enough to try. Courage isn't loud. It doesn't always roar. Sometimes courage is just the quiet decision to show up again, to try again, to speak when your voice trembles, to stay when running feels easier, or to leave when staying means self-betrayal. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's action in the presence of it. It's looking fear in the face and saying, you can walk beside me, but you will not lead. When you look at anyone who has transformed their life, you'll find courage at the root. Not perfection, not ease, not luck, just courage. The courage to admit they were wrong. The courage to ask for help. The courage to break a cycle. The courage to let go of something familiar. Because every change, no matter how big or small, begins with a choice, and every meaningful choice requires courage. Sometimes that courage will make you lonely. It will separate you from the crowd. It will pull you away from what's popular and place you in the valley of solitude. But don't mistake that silence for failure. That's just the sound of growth. You don't grow in the spotlight. You grow in the quiet. You grow when you decide to water the seed of change, even when no one else believes in it yet. Change is uncomfortable. It will stretch you. It will challenge your identity. It will force you to confront the parts of yourself you've kept hidden. But that discomfort is a sign that you're moving, that you're not stuck, that you're no longer settling for the version of yourself that simply survives. You're reaching for the version that thrives. And that reach, that first reach, takes courage. You may not feel brave when you start. You might feel messy. You might cry. You might fall. You might doubt every step. But remember this, courage is not about feeling ready. Courage is about deciding that staying the same is no longer an option. It's about choosing to grow, even if you grow slowly, even if you grow awkwardly, even if no one claps for you while you do it. And don't wait for someone to hand you courage. It doesn't come from outside applause. It doesn't come from validation or approval. It comes from within. It comes from the quiet voice inside that says, there is more to you than this. And sometimes that whisper is all you'll have. But if you listen closely, it will be enough. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to see the end of the road. You just have to take one brave step, one honest action, one intentional moment that says, I'm willing to try. And then step by step, choice by choice, you begin to change. You begin to grow into someone you can be proud of. Not someone perfect, but someone courageous. And that kind of transformation, that kind of becoming, it lasts. So when fear tells you to wait, when doubt tells you to stop, when the world tells you you're not ready, plant your feet, hold your ground. Remind yourself that courage has always lived inside you, and that the life you want, the peace you seek, the freedom you long for, they all begin with a single seed. The seed is courage. Water it with faith. Protect it with consistency. Watch it grow into change. Discipline is love in action. It's the daily decision to show up for yourself even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when no one is watching. Discipline is not punishment. It is not cruelty. It is not some rigid set of rules meant to break your spirit. True discipline is the most honest form of self-respect. It is a quiet declaration that you believe in your future enough to protect it with your present. It is choosing long-term peace over short-term pleasure. It is the deep understanding that what you want most is worth more than what you want now. When you love someone, you protect them. You provide for them. You make sacrifices for their well-being. You don't give them everything they ask for just because they want it. You give them what they need so they can grow. Discipline is doing that for yourself. It is not always giving in to your cravings, your distractions, or your feelings in the moment. It's setting boundaries, not to restrict your life, but to shape it into something meaningful. Discipline is what says, I care about my life enough to steer it with intention. It's easy to chase motivation, but motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the wind. One day you're inspired, the next day you feel nothing. That's when discipline steps in. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It shows up anyway. It says, I may not want to do this right now, but I will because I know who I want to become. That is love. That is commitment. That is the kind of self-love that isn't soft and poetic. It's firm, grounded, and powerful. Too often people think that love means comfort. That if you love yourself, you'll always give yourself rest, pleasure, and indulgence. But real love challenges. Real love says no when necessary. Real love pushes you to be better, not just feel better. Discipline is the action behind that love. It's not glamorous. It's not always Instagram worthy, but it is essential. It is the difference between a life of reaction and a life of creation. Every time you choose discipline, you build trust with yourself. You become someone you can count on. And that's a powerful feeling. To know that no matter what life throws at you, you won't abandon your goals, your values, or your commitments. That no matter the storm, you have a steady anchor within. That's what discipline gives you. It's not just about getting things done. It's about becoming a person of integrity. A person who honors their word even when no one's around to see it. Think about the people who have achieved anything meaningful. Athletes, artists, leaders, healers, none of them got there by accident. They didn't rely on luck or bursts of energy. They relied on discipline, on showing up to the practice field, to the blank page, to the long hours of repetition and refinement. They loved their calling enough to do the work. That same love lives in you, and it's asking to be expressed not just in what you say, but in what you do. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's about falling and getting up again, about failing and still trying, about missing a day but returning the next. That's what love looks like in the real world. It's not always tidy. It's not always pretty, but it is real. Not always fast, but always deep and lasting. Some days you'll feel tired. Some days you'll want to quit. That's normal. But those are the days when discipline becomes your lifeline. When your feelings try to trick you into giving up, discipline becomes your truth. And the more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. Like a muscle, it grows with use. Like love, it deepens with time. When you practice discipline, you begin to shift your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who gives in, who gives up, who loses focus. You begin to see yourself as someone who is grounded, focused, intentional. That shift changes everything. Because once you see yourself differently, you start living differently. No. So remember this. Every time you choose to wake up early to eat what fuels you, to keep a promise to yourself, to say no to what drains you, you are practicing love. You are saying, I matter enough to make a better choice. That is what discipline is. Not restriction, not denial. But deep, powerful, unwavering love in action. Surround yourself with truth, not comfort. That might sound simple, but it's one of the hardest things a person can do. Comfort feels good. It wraps itself around you like a warm blanket, whispers sweet reassurances in your ear, and tells you exactly what you want to hear. But comfort, if left unchecked, can also be dangerous. It can become a trap, a quiet sedative, dulls your drive and clouds your judgment. Comfort can make you feel safe while keeping you stuck. Truth, on the other hand, doesn't always feel good. It doesn't always speak softly, but it sets you free. To truly grow, to truly evolve, you need people in your life and voices in your mind that will speak the truth, not just echo your excuses. Too many people confuse support with silence. They believe love means agreeing with everything, that friendship means never challenging one another. But the people who truly care about you will not let you remain unchanged. They will not let you sink into bad habits or hide behind denial. They will call you out. They will speak up. They will tell you when you're wrong, when you're slipping, when you're not living up to the standard you set for yourself. This doesn't mean surrounding yourself with harshness or cruelty. Truth does not need to be brutal to be effective. But it must be honest. It must be real. It must cut through the noise of flattery and get to the core of what matters. The friends who hold you accountable, the mentor who won't let you off the hook, the voice inside you that pushes you to face hard realities, those are the ones who help you grow. Not the ones who coddle you into complacency. The truth might hurt, but it teaches. Comfort may soothe, but it often sedates. And in the long run, it's far more dangerous to be sedated than to be stretched. When you surround yourself only with comfort, you start to shrink. You stop reaching. You stop reaching. You stop questioning. You stop risking. You begin to measure success by how easy things feel instead of how honest you are with yourself. And before long, you've built a life that looks calm on the outside, but feels hollow on the inside. The truth challenges you. It asks you to examine your motives, to question your actions, to admit your contradictions. It asks you to take responsibility for your choices rather than blaming everyone else. It forces you to grow up emotionally, spiritually, mentally. That kind of growth is uncomfortable, but it's necessary. You cannot heal what you're unwilling to confront. You cannot change what you continue to excuse. You cannot move forward while telling yourself stories that keep you in place. Sometimes the truth will come from others. Sometimes it will rise up inside of you like a voice you've been trying to silence. Either way, don't turn away from it. Sit with it. Let it speak. Let it break down the walls you've built around your comfort zones. Let it point to the places where you've been playing small, pretending avoiding. The truth is not your enemy. It is your ally. It's the only foundation you can build real transformation on. This also means being truthful with yourself, not just about the things that went wrong, but about the parts of you that are still in hiding, the parts that crave approval, the parts that manipulate, the parts that sabotage your progress. Being surrounded by truth isn't just about hearing it from others. It's about being brave enough to speak it within, to stop sugarcoating your patterns, to stop dressing up your fear as logic, to stop calling your avoidance wisdom. That honesty might shake you, but it will also shape you. If you truly want to change, if you truly want to become the person you say you want to be, you must stop looking for people who make you feel good all the time and start searching for those who make you better. People who ask hard questions. People who don't tolerate your excuses. People who remind you of your strength when you attempt to settle. That's the kind of support that transforms. Because at the end of the day, comfort will fade. Feelings will shift. Emotions will change. But truth remains. Truth grows you. Truth refines you. Truth frees you from the chains of who you were and leads you into the becoming of who you are meant to be. And that freedom, while not always easy, is always worth it. So choose your surroundings wisely. Choose your conversations wisely. Choose the voices you let in. Don't let comfort lull you to sleep. Let truth wake you up. Let it stretch you. Let it lead you. Because when you are surrounded by truth, you are surrounded by the raw material of real, lasting, beautiful change. You deserve the freedom your change will bring. Not because you've done everything right. Not because you've never made mistakes. Not because you've somehow earned perfection, but simply because you are human, and every human being is born with the right to grow, to evolve, to rise. You deserve to be free from the weight of your past. You deserve to be free from habits that harm you, relationships that shrink you, thoughts that belittle you. The change you're working toward is not a burden, it is a gift. And that gift is freedom. Real freedom is not just about circumstance. It's not about where you live, how much money you have, or how others treat you. Real freedom begins within. It begins the moment you decide that your future matters more than your fear, that your peace matters more than your pride, that your healing matters more than your comfort. That moment is sacred. That moment is where true change begins to bloom. For too long, you may have believed that change was something to fear, that it meant letting go of too much, giving up too many parts of who you've been. But what if change isn't about losing yourself? What if it's about finally finding yourself, the self that's been buried beneath doubt, beneath pain, beneath the noise of other people's opinions? That self has always been there, waiting to be uncovered. Change is the process of uncovering, of peeling back the layers and remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. The freedom that change brings isn't loud. It doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes it arrives in small, quiet victories. Waking up without regret, saying no when you used to say yes just to please others, choosing stillness over chaos, speaking truth instead of staying silent. These moments may seem small, but they add up. They begin to shape a new life, a freer life. You deserve to wake up and feel proud of the choices you've made. You deserve to feel safe in your own skin, at peace in your own mind, and steady in your own soul. You deserve to be free from cycles that keep pulling you backwards. And even if you've been stuck for years, even if you've repeated the same mistakes more times than you can count, you are still worthy of the freedom that comes from trying again. Change asks for your effort, yes. It demands consistency, patience, honesty, but it never demands perfection. It never says you have to have it all figured out. It simply asks that you believe you are worth the work, that you are worthy of a life that reflects your deepest values, not your deepest wounds. There are people who will try to convince you that staying the same is easier, that you shouldn't rock the boat, that comfort is enough. But you know better. You know that comfort is not peace. You know that pretending is not living. You know that avoiding the mirror doesn't erase what's there. And because you know this, you also know that the freedom change brings, though it may cost you effort, discomfort, and time, is far more valuable than anything you'll lose along the way. You may have been taught that freedom is for other people, that peace belongs to those with perfect stories or easier paths. But the truth is, some of the most powerful, peaceful, and free people you will ever meet are the ones who had to fight for it, internally, quietly, steadily. And so can you. Every time you choose healing over hiding, growth over guilt, responsibility over blame, you are claiming your freedom. You are taking your life back, one brave step at a time. Let yourself believe it. You deserve this. You deserve to be free of shame, free of guilt that no longer serves you, free of self-doubt that was planted by someone else's fear. You deserve to become the version of yourself that doesn't flinch at their reflection, that walks into rooms without shrinking, that speaks without second-guessing, that loves without needing to beg for love in return. You are not here just to survive. You are here to live, to thrive, to rise into your full radiant potential. And that life, the one that feels whole and honest and true, is waiting on the other side of your change. The door is already open. The only thing left is for you to walk through it, knowing deep in your bones that this freedom was never too much to ask for. It was always yours. And now you are becoming strong enough to claim it. So now, after every truth spoken and every layer of yourself revealed, let this be the moment you carry forward. Change is not a mountain to dread, but a path to freedom. It begins with honest self-reflection, the courage to look in the mirror and say, I can do better. It grows when you remember your past is not a prison but a teacher, and every lesson it gave you was preparing you for today. It strengthens with courage, the quiet bravery to take a single step even when fear walks beside you. It deepens through discipline, that unwavering commitment to love yourself enough to stay the course, even on hard days. It flourishes when you surround yourself not with comfort that coddles, but with truth that challenges and calls you higher. And it becomes real, lasting, and powerful when you finally believe that you are worthy of the freedom your change will bring. This journey is not for the faint of heart, but you are not faint, you are not fragile, you are not broken beyond repair. You are becoming stronger, wiser, more honest, more free. Keep walking, keep rising, keep becoming. The life you long for isn't somewhere far away. It's already within you, waiting to be lived.